Hi! Today we want to talk about multiplicative comparisons. What multiplicative comparisons are is when you have a word problem and you're going to have three different things or three different types of information that are given to you in the problem. You're going to have information where one child is compared to another using multiplication. I might have 3 and the other child has 5 times as many as I do, and then you're also going to have a total. So what I want to do is I want to go through 3 example problems, and I want to show you how the children should be setting up the problem so that when they bring homework home, you'll know how to help them and watch over them to make sure they set it up correctly. Here's the first problem that we're going to take a look at. It says that Mary has 4 dresses. Sally has 3 times as many dresses as Mary. How many dresses do the girls have all together? So let's take a look at the information that we're given and what we should do with that information. What I ask the kids to do is this: identify who's in the problem. In this case, we have 2 children. We have Mary, we'll represent her with an M. We have Sally, we'll represent her with an S. And we also are asked, how many dresses do the girls have all together? All together is always asking me for a total. So if I take Mary's amount and Sally's amount and I put them together, I'm going to get that all together. I'm going to get that total. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put a T. So once we identify who's in the problem and what we have, then I ask the kids to show me or to fill in down here what they already know. What does the problem tell me? Well, first in this sentence, we want to look for the words, or in this case, since we have a name Mary, we want to see what does Mary have. It'll say Mary has, and we want to put that under Mary. Okay? Mary has, here it is, Mary has. What does Mary have? 4 dresses. So underneath Mary, we'll put a 4. Okay? Then it goes on and says, Sally has. Sally has, now let's look what it says. Sally has 3 times as many dresses as Mary. When I go to put Sally's amount, she has 3 times what Mary has. Well, 3 times whatever Mary has. In this case, Mary has 4. So Sally's number would be represented as 3 times 4. Well, we should be able to figure out what is 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. So now when it asks how many dresses do the girls have all together, Mary has 4, Sally has 12. I can write the number sentence 4 plus 12, and it would give me a total of 16. And that's how many dresses the girls have all together. But we want to go ahead and set this up where we have Mary's information, Sally's information, and the total. Every time we want to go ahead and put those things down so we can see exactly what we have, what we're missing, and how we can go about figuring those things out. Let's look at a different kind of problem. Let's take a look at this. Thomas has 4 toy cars. Together, Thomas and Pablo have 28 cars. How many times as many cars as Thomas does Pablo have? Okay, who's in our problem? Thomas and Pablo. Did we get a total? We did. We'll put that over here. So Thomas, Pablo, and a total. What do we know? It says right here, Thomas has. What does Thomas have? He has 4 toy cars. Now here it goes a little differently than the problem we just looked at. It tells me together. Now together leads you to think of which part of this? Thomas, Pablo, or the total? Right. It leads you to think of the total together. Thomas and Pablo have 28 cars. That's the total. And then the question wants to know, how many times as many cars as Thomas does Pablo have? They wanted a multiplication. They want a multiplication problem here. How many times as many? Well, let's first figure out how many cars Pablo has. I know that Thomas has 4. If I were to add it with whatever Pablo has, I'm going to get a total of 28. How do I figure out what Pablo has? We've got to use our knowledge of fact families, that this number plus this number gives me this. Then I can write a subtraction number sentence. I can write 28 minus 4, and that would give me the amount that belongs to Pablo. What is it? Right, it's going to be 24. Now, 24 does not answer the question. It does not ask, how many cars does Pablo have? If it asks that, that would be the answer. What it asks is this: how many times as many cars as what Thomas has, does Pablo have? In other words, what they're asking is, 24 is 4 times what? How many times greater is this than this? And now they have to know that it's going to be not 4 times 7, which is 28, but it's going to be 4 times 6, which would make the 24. 24 is 6 times greater than the 4. So the answer, how many times greater? It's 6 times greater. Okay? The last one, again, it's going to be a little different. Rick and Nick have a total of 42 turtles. Rick has 6 times as many turtles as Nick. How many turtles does each boy have? So, who's in the problem? Rick and Nick, and we want the total. Okay? What do we know? What has the problem told us? Right, it's giving us the total right here. Total of 42 turtles. So underneath total, I'm going to put the 42. Now, it doesn't give me Rick or Nick. But what it does do is it tells me how Rick compares to Nick. Rick is going to have 6 times as many as Nick does. I don't know what Nick has. So what I have to do is I have to choose a variable to put in the place of the number. It could be a letter. I tell the children it could be a letter, it could be a question mark, it could be a picture of a snowman, whatever they want to put. But whatever they choose for whatever Nick has, this is going to be 6 times as many. So I'm going to choose the letter N, and I'll use that all year long. It's what they'll see when they get to algebra in middle school and high school. A lot of times N is the variable used. So I'm going to put a lowercase n. All this means is what Nick has. I don't know what it is yet. I have to figure it out. But for right now, he has N amount of turtles. Rick has 6 times that same amount. These two N's mean the exact same thing. This and this are the same. They're what Nick has. Don't know what it is yet. We'll figure it out. But that's what Nick has. Okay? If Nick has 1, Rick would have 6 times 1. If Nick has 5, Rick would have 6 times 5. It's the same. This is what Nick has. That's what that N means. Okay, so now I tell the kids, remember what multiplication means. It means you have the same number repeatedly over and over and over again. 6 times n means you have n plus n plus n plus n plus n plus n. You would have the letter n 6 times. That's what 6 times n means. So now we say, all right, since this is a total here, if I were to add these together, the 6 n's here and the 1 n there, how many n's do you have? 6 here and 1 there. You have 7 of them. So now you can write this number sentence. 7 times n equals 42. 7 n's. 6 here, 1 there. 7 times n would equal 42. Okay, now you got to go back to your multiplication. 7 times what equals 42? What's n going to have to be? Right, it's going to be a 6. Okay, we're not done. Just because we get the 6th n doesn't mean we're finished, because the question now asks, how many turtles does each boy have? I've got to give an answer for Rick. I've got to give an answer for Nick. Now we're going to take this information, n equals 6. Wherever I had an n up here, I need to change it and make it a 6. So I'm going to come up here. Nick no longer has n turtles. I know what he has. He has 6. Over here, this n is also going to be 6. So now Rick's amount is going to be 6 times 6. 6 times what Nick has. Nick has 6 turtles. Rick's going to have 6 times 6, which is 36 turtles. So Rick has 36, and Nick has 6. And we can check, 36 plus 6 should give me 42. And it does. Okay? This is going to take a little time to get. What I want to see is I want to see them identifying what their information is from the problem. What do we know? Because once we figure out what we know, then we can come up with a plan as to figure out what we don't know. Okay? So as you see these problems coming home for homework, pull this up, have your kids set it up this way. Please, don't have any shortcuts. Okay? Set it up this way, you'll be able to work them out. Okay? Always pay attention, work hard. I'll see you next time.